The celebration was on full display once again, and for the Panthers to clinch their second straight Stanley Cup, we saw how much sacrifice this group especially had to make.
You're Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yeah.
And welcome into this Thursday, June 19th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Armando Velez from the Hockey News. You can follow me on X at Monoman12. That is Florida Panthers historian Francisco Oporta. You can follow him on X at FLA Cats History. Once again, shout out to the everydayers who come back here and get your daily Florida Panthers fix. So the Florida Panthers, after winning their Stanley Cup, their second straight, the celebration went into the morning. Today we're going to discuss the aftermath of it. We're in segment 2, we're going to discuss the injuries, and segment number 3, we're going to discuss the upcoming parade and what possible shenanigans that we are looking forward to when it comes to the parade as well. But Francisco, welcome to the show. It's crazy because us discussing and trying to prepare for this show. Last year, you got the cup clincher, but obviously for it falling on a Tuesday, that ended up being Jacob's spot. But you and Jacob's roles flipped this season. Today we're discussing the aftermath, but now after soaking it in, it's been over 24 hours since the cup clincher. What's your feeling, my friend?
I'm still, dear Lord, I'm riding on vibes still. Like, this is going to go a long way for me for a while. It's just the way that it happened, and the way they got it done. I think, kudos to Edmonton. I think they were out of the 4 opponents that they faced in these playoffs, I think they definitely respected them the most. And I think I saw it as far as the fan bases were concerned. We kind of were less hostile in a sense, I think, compared to last year, more of a respectful, like, hey, both these teams went the wire last year. And now when this went up to 6 games, but in a way, Edmonton was lucky that they dragged this to 6 games because this could have ended a lot sooner. But I think the Panthers asserting their authority to finish this out really brought it home that they are truly the best team in the league. It didn't matter what seed that they entered in. It didn't matter that they were they didn't have home ice in any of the series. They tied the record for the most road wins in a single playoff run. And they led for, I don't what, 90% of the series.
2 hours and 55 minutes.
Yeah. It's an absolutely insane run. And we can harp on it. Everybody's harping on it. We can break it down as much as we want to, but there's no denying what they did.
Yeah. And when it comes to this championship celebration, the aftermath, we're not talking as much X's and O's as we are just going on full vibes. And we're still vibing when it comes to just discussing everything when it comes to this. I mean, we were discussing pre-recording. You went to bed at 4 a.m. I went to bed at 6 a.m. after everything. If from the YouTube, you're seeing that I'm wearing my glasses. So if you're up almost all night, I don't recommend you still wearing your contacts the day after. But once again, how the Panthers have been able to just assert their dominance and just the way they won, just separating themselves from the pack. And I mean, you think about just these last 2 years overall. I mean, McDavid, 4 goals in 13 games. Nikita Kucherov, 0 goals in 10 games. Austin Matthews, 1 in 7. David Pastrnak, 1 goal in 6 games. Artemi Panarin. I mean, just these 2 years, it's more just about the Florida Panther way and just taking your superstar and just making them silent. And for the most part, I mean, you mentioned it. This was the Panthers' the Oilers were the Panthers' biggest challenge, especially with that scare last year. And then just now, although they beat them more handily, just the respect factor that comes with doing it twice and that heavyweight battle. Wayne Gretzky even said after the broadcast about those Islanders teams, it's hate, but then when years go by after, you learn to respect. And I'm sure when 20 years from now and looking at this series, Barkov and McDavid, I mean, yeah, there's no animosity between them. Those are it's Barkov can't hate a single. There's not a single bit of hate in his body, especially with him going around his neighborhood once again and ringing on doorbells at 5 a.m. to present the cup. There was like a ring video for it. But I mean, just the amount of respect that you could just talk about between the two teams in between. I mean, and speaking of respect, I mean, Evan Rodriguez spoke about how coming to Florida, you could be yourself. And then I didn't catch this while on the ice when talking to players, but I've obviously watching videos after the embrace between Tomáš Nosek and Paul Maurice, tearing up. Nosek being given a chance to play an even bigger role for what he has done before, and then the fact that the team didn't give up on him, the coaching staff, and honestly, I was even talking about this in post game one about if you got to give those guys a vote of confidence because of how they changed the tides from when they were inserted in the Toronto series. So it's just really about embracing one another.
Like you saw it as far as the dynamic of the unity between all those guys. When Barkov handed the cup first to Nate Schmidt, it was like, oh, okay, all right. And then I saw it went to Seth Jones, and I'm like, oh, and I picked it up right away. I'm like, they're giving it to the guys who were there last year. And I think this is one of those things that a lot of people are not really realizing. They think it's all the other things surrounding the Panthers' circumstances of, oh, well, the salary cap is rising. Oh, they don't have a state income tax. That's not really it anymore. I mean, we're over here talking about Sam Bennett possibly. He would be getting paid very handsomely in 31 other cities right now. And there's a very, very good chance he could settle for a reasonable number for himself that would make him happy just to stay in South Florida. There's a very large chance of that happening. And you don't get that with a lot of organizations. And I think they may see they've won 2 in a row. So you kind of have a legacy that you might want to go for and trying to get a third one and having an actual dynasty, unlike what the people in Tampa think they had. Which they don't have. They don't have dynasty. I don't know any Lightning fans. Like, I'm not calling this one a dynasty for the Panthers either until they win a third. Okay? So it takes 3. I mean, the last one we had was the Chicago Blackhawks. That was the last dynasty you could actually say was won. But and I've got a lot of things I was to say about the Lightning's last 2 Stanley Cup championships too, but we don't have to talk about that now.
Yeah.
I already tweeted it, so it doesn't matter.
I had a little bit of a different conversation on Dynasty, but just a period of dominance, which I believe can continue for this Panthers team. And you mentioned it with a reasonable number for Sam Bennett. They went to the obviously same place that they went to yesterday, to the Elbow Room. They were there around like 8, 9 a.m. I went later in the day, around like 2 p.m. just to see the scene, and it was still buzzing throughout the day. And Sam Bennett's dad starting the 8 more years. Paul Maurice interviewed by Jackie Redmond saying, oh, he's not getting out of the building. And then Sam Bennett just saying how much of an honor it is to be part of the group. Once again, this guy couldn't do a pull-up at the scouting combine. From that to Conn Smythe winner. And then just to think, after he was awarded the Conn Smythe, he just skated and wanted to put it away because he wanted to celebrate with the team once again. And it fits like a glove. There's no guarantee that his style of play works in a different system. So I think it's why would he leave? Why would the Panthers want him gone to begin with? But I do think there is a limit as well. It's just I'm not going to pretend like I know what Sam Bennett's motives are when it comes to what he wants in his next deal. But he even spoke about it, how much freedom it's been, even before Game 6, about how much freedom there has been to play with the contract looming. And I mean, and also his purpose with the foundation for Benny's Buddies. The last count is 41 goals between 4 nations, regular season and post, that he's adopting. I mean, the raise that he's going to be getting is going to make up for all that. So awesome. Regardless, he's going to get paid. Pets are going to be finding homes, and he's a Conn Smythe winner. So big congratulations to him. But we're going to transition over to segment number 2, where we're going to discuss more of the injuries and the details of what came out after the game. Some of you might hear it and might be shocked from what the Panthers had to go through. We'll discuss that next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by wonderful pistachios. And are you looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with wonderful pistachios. Wonderful pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, give you 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to keep you feeling fuller, longer. And personally, I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack for busy days when I'm snacking at the desk, on a road trip, or need a quick protein boost. They're always my go-to. And I love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch. Have them in my cup holder. Sometimes I'm just driving in traffic at a red light, and I can just reach in and grab a pistachio so I don't have to make a pit stop. So get snacking and cracking with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Segment 2 here on this Thursday, June 19th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. Armando Velez here with Francisco Oporta, Florida Panthers historian, to discuss everything about the aftermath of the Game 6 victory for the Panthers. But now we're going to discuss some of the injuries that the Panthers went through throughout this postseason. And we're going to talk about the ones that we knew they were going through an injury, but now we're getting the details. And one that we had no idea about after we discussed the two. So Sam Reinhart had a grade 2 MCL sprain, not grade 1, grade 2. So that's around at least a 4-week minimum recovery. And he only missed 2 games in the Eastern Conference Final. And then Matthew Tkachuk, oh my goodness, the details of this one. Tore his abductor off the bone and a hernia. And even Paul Maurice spoke about that there were times that he wasn't hopeful that he would survive the first round, and then graduating from 20 minutes and then up after the Tampa series, and even spoke about how difficult the Tampa series was, the most difficult of them all outside of the Stanley Cup final. So your thoughts on that, Francisco?
Well, I mean, with Tkachuk, he got injured during the 4 Nations. So
yeah,
that was... even when he came back, you could tell he wasn't all there yet, and then even more so going forward from there. So just an absolute dog to go through all of that still. And I mean, he went through it in 2023 with the sternum, and it's just something that all these guys do. And it's the reason why hockey players are considered the toughest amongst all these other professional team sports. So, Rhino, I mean, that injury, but still scores 4 goals at the Stanley Cup clinching game. And then we have Aleksander Barkov and his torn open hand from game 1 of the series. But, I mean, both teams are probably playing with something that we're going to start finding out exactly what some of these guys were actually playing through on both ends. I mean, the Oilers lost Zach Hyman in all of this. So it was, and I don't even I mean, I can't even tell, like, as far as what the other team was going through. I mean, they were playing with David and Draisaitl almost that entire game in Game 6. I wonder what those guys were going through as far as
Nude broke his finger.
Yeah, he did. And I mean, everybody else. I mean, Tkachuk had a massive block that he had during Game 6 as well. I mean, these guys just putting everything on the line. So it's just a testament to their, I mean, just the sheer will to try and get there. Every team goes through it. And none of these series are easy. So, I mean, what more can you say? You just got to commend it. And then every team goes through, every team wants to do this, and it's insane. But that's the reason why Stanley Cup playoffs are the best playoff for American pro sports.
Yeah, we didn't even mention with Barkov's hand injury, slicing it open in Game 1. It also came up. It also broke open in Games 2 and 3, and they had to keep it together with glue as well. And 1 point shy of being a point per game is the crazy part in all of this. Great setup to Sam Reinhart, especially in Game 5 on the road after that battle along the end boards and just backhanding it back. And I'm looking at the total points. 6 guys were at 20 points, and Sam Reinhart had tied for the most points despite missing the two games in the conference final against Carolina. And I mean, yeah, the 4 goals in the clincher, I mean, are gonna really help him get to that total there. So just once again, just how these guys are able to will themselves there to get to this point. But also, really going to the aftermath of everything, when the Panthers went through downtown Fort Lauderdale on Los Olas, another thing happened where the fans were embracing Brad Marchand and Seth Jones, saying, "Thank you, Boston. Thank you, Blackhawks." And Maurice also spoke about how it's not just captain to captain when it comes to the cup. There's the role that Seth Jones played in Chicago, trying to be a mentor to a young team, but just didn't fit their timeline. And just the fact that those guys from Marchand with the gap in between cup wins, and then Seth Jones being on his 4th team. When a high draft pick gets to different teams, you start to have a little bit of a reputation. But now, not only is he getting a Stanley Cup championship for Jones, depending on what happens with Aaron Ekblad in the summer, he also has a chance to be back in a top role come next year, even though he's the quarterback on the power play.
Yeah. Seth Jones was, I know a lot of people from Chicago, as far as Blackhawks fans, were considered his signing a big disappointment. But I think in context, you have to see how tough a situation that is with a rebuilding team. I mean, I think he expected to go to Chicago for one reason, and it just ended up being something else. With the way that team was being blown up eventually. I mean, they just reached the end of their line from their glory days for sure. And he just needed an opportunity someplace where something mattered. And I think, and the Panthers have him for a few years now as well. So that's one of the great things about this, is that I think they were able to target someone that was maybe underappreciated, or I think a lot of people wrote off as being unable to get to this level of play. But I think it's just the situations he's been in the past that kind of didn't bring out the best in him. And now with the way the Panther system operates, They target specific players that they think can play within that system, and he does fit incredibly well. I mean, and all tons of people are talking about the debate as to within the salary cap era, if the acquisitions of Marchand and Jones are two of the best ones since the era started in NHL history. Because you could make an argument, yes.
Yeah. And thankfully for the Panthers, they were able to just, and situationally, you're getting a guy under term in one trade, you're getting a guy with a expiring term in another, where even in short spurts, the Panthers have been able to find fits. And to think that half a season trying to fit in a group is so tough. And Mo even spoke about Aaron Ekblad, and he spoke that it was going to be a year and a half for him to get used to the system, and the fact that it took Aaron Ekblad and the whole team a while. I mean, let's not forget, this was not an easy start. I mean, the real 9 points out in January 1 of 23 to get to the first Stanley Cup final, but the difference between that Stanley Cup final team and these two is you're not chasing. Yeah, your game got right and momentum started from that. But the fact that in these last two runs, the Panthers weren't in a place of basically playing playoff hockey for 6 months as opposed to 2.5. I mean, that's what makes the actual winning not necessarily sweeter. I'm not sure what the right word is, but it really shows the growth in 1 year to from the first year to the last two.
Now that you mentioned 2023 and how this timeline could have been derailed with so many moments. 2023, I mean, without Alex Lyon just playing on his head.
Oh, yeah.
The Pittsburgh Penguins falling apart at the end. The Chicago Blackhawks defeating the Pittsburgh Penguins to knock them out. With Seth Jones, who had an assist in that game, by the way. So it's kind of funny how some things come full circle with that. So he did help this team get along this path. Brad Marchand missing on that breakaway as well.
And being on opening night for the Bruins this year.
Yes. So there's a lot of interesting parallels in the way that life has kind of brought these two guys here. And I think you can reach out a lot of these narratives. I mean, I love Nate Schmidt's story. I think we were going to talk about stories and which storylines and narratives that we like the most here. I've loved Nate Schmidt since he got to this team. I love his personality. Like when you hear him on post-game interviews and everything like that, he's just a joy to listen to.
Animated.
And you see him now just hang out with the fans in Fort Lauderdale right now. And you can see why Paul Maurice really probably was going up to Bill Zito and everybody like, hey, this guy in Winnipeg, I had him. Like, you got to bring this guy over here. We got to give him a shot. And the fact that he was the first one that Barkov gave it to was, I think, really meant something, really signaled to everybody else his story. And if I had to pick a player for the entire season, I think it would be him because he embodied the spirit of the team trying to, I guess, retool with a bunch of guys leaving. That was the concern at the beginning of this year. Was, okay, we lost Brandon Montour and Mahura and a bunch of other guys. Lomberg, OEL, Stolars as a backup. And the Panthers were able to retool to the point where everybody was saying this team is probably better than the one that won it last year. And I think so too.
Yeah, I'm on that boat, and just the fact that he's been able to be a steady presence, be on the top power play, go up in the lineup when Nico Mikkola had that injury for 2 weeks, which Nico Mikkola has been healthy for the most part outside of the 2-week stretch throughout these last 2 seasons, and that's the thing about how much healthier the Panthers are, and also credit to his partner, Nate Schmidt's partner, Dmitry Kulikov. Last 2 years was in the dark times, came back, and then a team-friendly contract because he just wants to be here, and then elevating to the second pair whenever an injury comes up, and then just even if he's going to be in a mentoring role later on, and Nate Schmidt does move on to see what if a younger player comes in, maybe a Mike Benning next year on that third pair, who knows? That's also a great thing of Dmitry Kulikov, that he's still going to be here past this year, and to continue on. And even Paul Maurice said it's not even about the Stanley Cup wins. It's about just the fact that you want to come to work and you want to just embrace each other and be around everyone. But we're no easy way to transition from this one, as we're still on cloud 9 from the Stanley Cup Championship once again, and we're going to discuss in segment number 3 the parade and who gets an opportunity to experience it, what kind of shenanigans we would like to see from it. We'll discuss that next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Segment 3 here on this Thursday, June 19th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. Armando Velez here with Francisco Oporta, Florida Panthers historian, to discuss everything of the aftermath of the Panthers' second consecutive Stanley Cup win. So, the parade this time around. I posted a picture on X of the Panthers, of the Broward County starting to set up the stage, walking around, had a nice little lunch right on the ocean, and the fact that it was just such a great day to just walk around. Wore sandals like a typical Floridian, dipped my feet in the water. It was just there's just no place like Florida. I'm really, really thankful to call this place home. And with the parade being on Sunday, Sam Reinhart gets to attend it this time. Let's not forget, guys, that last year he had to attend a wedding. You can't predict months in advance when you're planning a wedding that it's going to fall on the same night of a possible championship celebration. It's funny because Sam Reinhart also signed a Buffalo Sabres jersey. I don't know if you saw that, Francisco. And then he's like felt disgusted, but he threw it back. So a little funny thing there.
Yeah. So he's gonna go to the parade this time. Just over under on how many F-bombs? What do you think? 100,000? I hope Paul Maurice talks about his cats again.
Yes. I hope we get something in relation to that. And here's the thing with the parade. We saw Nate Schmidt be like a full-on party animal, like shotgunning beers with the fans like surrounding him, doing like a one-hop step as well. That dude just has the personality for a championship celebration. I wonder also what Brad Marchand's bar tab was this time, because when he won the cup in 2011 with the Bruins, his bar tab was $15,000 there. So I wonder what it was this time. And also, I'm sure you saw this, but the tweet of Roberto Luongo messing with Brad Marchand, saying my favorite champagne, due to the joke of Brad Marchand's championship tattoo with the Bruins being spelled incorrectly. So that's another that's another classic from Lou.
I mean, now Marchand's more of a family man, I guess. I'm not sure how much it'll go up on this occasion, but I mean, last year was during a torrential downpour, which I honestly thought made it better. It wasn't as hot, that was for sure, because I was at Fort Lauderdale for that too. So we'll see what happens this year. But I'm just looking forward to the actual I mean, the speeches aren't really speeches; they're more just guys just letting all their feelings out with
Yes.
a ton of f bombs in between. And but it's just fun to hear them and see them. I think, and the one I enjoyed the most last year, it was Paul Maurice's speech. His
Yeah.
was the best one. It was by far the best one. And then Roberto Luongo smashing the drum again. I was hoping like he'd hit that thing so hard it would break, but this year, yeah, we'll see. It's round two. I think they'll definitely have Rhino up there because he didn't get a shot to do it last year, and a bunch of the other guys that I hope Nate Schmidt does get a chance to talk
Oh
and
man.
to people as well as I'm sure they might do the same thing where they'll have a bunch of the guys. Barkey's going to get up there. Definitely Bennett is gonna maybe they're gonna have to coax him to talk. He's not really a talkative guy, but they might get him up there, and then and a bunch of the other guys that signed on this year, Jonesy. Yeah, we'll see.
I wonder if there's gonna. It's funny because I saw like I said yesterday, I saw Popeye Jones on the ice, and I asked him if he was going to chirp Charles Barkley for Chuck saying I hate Seth Jones because his dad always guarded me well in the NBA. So I wonder if there's going to be like a dual microphone with Seth and Popeye there, and as a way, just like how Aaron Ekblad last year said "bleep you, Brooks Koepka" with the actual cone, another classic, and once again, Steve Goldstein mentioning the different parts of South Florida, people from where are my people from Hialeah, where are my people from Weston, where are my people from Palm Beach County. So the shout out to the different parts of South Florida, the Tri-County area that really embraces this team. And then, like you mentioned, Marchand's more of a family man, so that's going to be the tone is probably going to be, as far as the bar tab is going to be down, and maybe the language because his kids are there, but also the fact that once again that the team embraced him after all the bad blood between Bennett and Marchand previously. And this quote from from Bennett during his media availability after, he said, "quote We're going to follow you, and also he's a better player and person that I ever knew," close quote. So that's the great thing just about putting the differences aside and then just going into a situation where it's like we're gonna fight together. And I know there wasn't the whole together forever after this one. At least there hasn't been a video yet that we've seen. But the fact is that these guys wanted to fight for each other to get the job done.
Yeah, I think you saw as far as the play was concerned. And I think Matthew Tkachuk had mentioned it in the sense that the Oilers have two of the best players in the world on their team, but they completely deferred heavily onto them, everything. I mean, they were practically playing that entire game six.
Yeah.
And you saw with the Panthers rolling the lines, all four lines being rolled, all the defensive pairings, everybody getting in on it. Edmonton, when those two guys weren't on the ice, it seemed like they felt like they had no shot, even though they were actually they were on in the negative side on the plus minus, I think for game six. But
Well, the two empty netters made it more skewed.
yeah, I get that, but still,
But still.
You saw it going into the third once the Panthers were going into the third with that lead. That it was the same thing happened last year in Game 7, where McDavid and Draisaitl are out there for nearly all 20 minutes. And as much as Chris Knobloch, even Chuck Knobloch would tell him, like, look, dude, you can't just play two guys. He can't clone those two guys. He just and the great thing was that the people really did harp on the fact that this Oilers team was deeper than they felt like last year, but still that depth was still the actions of coaching and the way that they were throwing McDavid and Draisaitl out there, and it seemed like that was their only real opportunity to try and generate anything. I think really defeated them, and also the fact that their goaltenders. I alluded to the fact that they were like in Cinderella, where they just turned back into pumpkins. That's what happened to them too, because Calvin Pickard, he didn't have a loss the entire postseason. Panthers gave him the loss. They went back to Stuart Skinner, and Skinner, once again, commendable.
Mr. Game 4, remember that? Mr. Game 4.
Yeah, and then that third goal completely. That third goal was the dagger.
Mm-hmm.
That third goal, the way that one went in, that was it. That just completely destroyed him.
I'm looking at natural stat trick, 7 different forward combinations for Game 6 alone. And also, didn't mention this yet. Evander Kane didn't come out for handshakes after the.
Yeah. I'm not making a big deal about that.
So
I don't know. I know a lot of people really have bad things to say about Evander Kane on a lot of things. Look, he got the game misconduct and everything like that. It was over by then, and he didn't come out for the handshakes. He shook their hands last year. It's fine.
Okay, yeah.
It's not a big deal. Whatever.
So, just the fact that the Panthers once again assert their dominance, and the celebration for these guys and the entire South Florida region is still on full display. They might be we don't know where the Stanley Cup is right now. Hey, they might be going back to one of the Club 11 in Miami. Who knows? Just like they did last year. But the Panthers probably still not sleeping for multiple days as the celebration goes from one part of South Florida to another. And we are still celebrating here, and we will continue to celebrate on tomorrow's edition of the show, where we'll discuss more about that with Nick Fairbanks here on the podcast. But Francisco, I want to thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the show. Tell everybody where they can follow you and your content online, because with the Stanley Cup win, there's more content coming from you.
Yeah, I feel like Cat's history. I mean, I've just been doing everything as far as all the histories now, all the good stuff is happening now, so it's great. You can follow me there. I think I have a Marlins history account, and I don't think I'll be touching it anytime soon. But maybe I'll do a nice little combination once that Winter Classic comes. For sure. Definitely going to be posting some of the merch that I'll be getting in the mail soon enough. I think everybody's going to be getting some nice trinkets from this final. For sure. I've already started purchasing some stuff, and I definitely want to go down to Fort Lauderdale on Sunday when I get back from. I'm in Denver right now. I've been wearing Panthers jersey all over the place. A lot of people shouting out, seeing this, and definitely want to head down to the practice facility to check out some stuff and skate on the ice, and maybe get a chance to see the Cup after they're done with the actual parade. So who knows?
Yeah. We will see, and it's going to be a really fun celebration on Sunday with the whole, with the region coming together. Over 200,000 last time. We'll see if they can exceed that this time around. So, Francisco, thank you so much once again, and I will see you again soon. And if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast and be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Don't forget to also subscribe to the other shows on Locked On NHL Network, including Locked On NHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey, Flip Livingstone and Steel Rudden, and Locked On NHL Prospects. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. So I'm Armando Velez with Francisco Oporta, and you've been listening to Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day.